Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian Community's movers and shakers. Join our hosts, Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira Guy Nissen, as well as the Jira Amigos in the Peanut Gallery, as we sit down and discuss the latest going on in the Atlassian ecosystem. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life, the Jira Life chose us.
I'm so glad we don't do episode numbers because boy, oh boy, did I always mess those up. But welcome everybody to whatever episode this is of season 3.
Hello.
Hello.
We have two lovely people here. My partner in crime is still recovering. Great news though from last week that he had gone through surgery and was at home. He is happily at home now. He's out of the hospital, and Rodney is well on his road to recovery. I'm told he's still in a little bit of pain, but he's gradually getting better. And he, in his words, I'm better today than I was yesterday and better than the day before that. So totally getting better for him. But we expect one more outage of Ronnie. That's very techie / mean thing to say.
Another outage like that, though. Instead of calling in sick, I'm going to be like, I'm experiencing an outage. I love this.
We're experiencing one more outage of Ronnie, and he should be back with us in 2 weeks. So, and apparently he's in the chat. So he's good enough to be chatting, but not good enough to make an appearance. So welcome, Ronnie. He's with us in the chat. All right. And with that said, again, this video is sponsored by our good friends at Revise. And they have a little thing going on right now on LinkedIn that I wanted to kind of start us off with before we get too far into the episode. And so Revise is, I think, some partners, because this is the second I've heard of, or the second team that's been doing this. But if you go over to LinkedIn, and I'm going to drop a link in the chat here, they have an extra ticket to Team 25. So if anybody here is interested, there's a raffle going on. They have a deadline is March 6th, with the raffle happening on March 7th. And they're basically going to offer up a free ticket to Team 25. I would assume you got to pay the rest of the way, hotel and travel and those arrangements. But the ticket itself, you want to get to team, and maybe your company didn't approve it, but you don't mind paying your way out to get there. This is looks like a great opportunity here. So special thanks again to our channel sponsor, Revise, who's also sponsoring us to make it out to Team 25. So we will be doing a lot with the Revise here in a few weeks. All right, now that I have the logistics out of the way, welcome, Josh, and well, actually, Josh, you're the co-host. You do this.
That's a good point.
No script. We're just winging it. Yeah. Yeah. So hello, everyone. Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I honestly, Josh, like one of the things I was thinking about before coming on here is that my favorite bit of getting to be on the Jira Life is like all these people I see on LinkedIn and I follow and I fangirl about. And honestly, I was like, Josh is on. I haven't met Josh. I really want to be there. So yay!
And you know,
Great. It's only downhill from here.
I know.
It's just going to be disappointing.
But let's take advantage of the fact that Sarah has brought out that we got to meet Josh. And if you too want to meet Josh and you live in the Phoenix area, March 19th, we're going to be having a barbecue and DevOps session at the Get Kraken offices in Scottsdale. So I will be there. Josh is always going to be there. Our very own King Bob will be there as well. And so if you want to meet the world famous Josh, make sure you make your way down to Phoenix next Wednesday. next Wednesday.
Yeah,
like in 3 weeks.
next. What day is it?
Next. The 19th. The 19th.
All right.
19th. Yeah, and we also have another event on the 5th. Actually, as well. So that's the Rovo. What are they calling it? The Road Show. The Rovo Road. That is hard to say.
Rovo Road Show. Yeah, too many R's too close to each other.
That's going on, and we're having an event, and we have some fine folks at Atlassian coming out to that event as well. So those that are in the area, please stop by. Even if you're not, we have it's a hybrid event. So feel free to sign up and check it out. And you can head to our ACE chapter site, or you can check out my LinkedIn, and I have recent links.
Yeah, and hopefully our co-host, or our producer here can drop some links in the chat.
Yeah,
for that. But yeah, okay. So logistics think I got them all now. Sorry about that, guys.
It'll be
Totally
fun.
unscripted. I asked about the script today, and they're like, "What script?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I thought you guys liked the script." It's because Andy's not
We're
here.
doing it live.
Because
They
Andy's not
just
here
thought
to
you were
enforce-
being ironic asking about a script. That's all.
I am so tired. This is my last full week of having a normal job, and everybody has come out of the woodwork asking for something.
Yep.
And I low key just want to be an employee on Tuesday to see all the stuff that is tied to my name that just breaks. That somebody
Oh,
take over. So like, I just want to be there. Don't want to do the work, but I just want to be there, witness this thing fall apart.
it can't fall apart because you would have done such a good job with everything you set up and all of the documentation that it's just, easy peasy to pick it up. You've done the hard
I'm gonna
work,
tell
now
you
you
this
got the
much.
easy work of
That
maintaining,
documentation is as good as our script.
right? Good thing you've already put your notice in.
I know. At this point, I think I fired somebody today. I'm like, I don't even think I can do that.
Oh no.
I am off the chains at work right now because it's not even funny how like little I care at this point.
See, like me with this dandelions, you've got some spring fever, but it's like that short timer syndrome. You got all of that going on.
Yeah. But anyways, Josh, so you were the previous time that you were here, I think you had just gone through a layoff, no? Or was it no?
think it
Because
was
you and I
around-
chatted. You and I
Yeah.
had chatted. So you and I were doing like you had just entered the job market, but
Mhm.
now things are on the up and up for you. Why don't you tell us a little bit of where you've been and where you're going, why you look so tired?
Yeah, right. Thanks. So yeah, no, last year, around October, unfortunately, I was a casualty of a layoff, and
And here I am willfully quitting my job.
yeah,
Right.
but I was very fortunate, very lucky. I think I was officially out of work for 2 weeks, which is like unheard of right now.
I know we barely even got to record a couple of episodes
yeah.
of LinkedIn. Like we had like a whole series plan, and Josh was like, "Well, I got a
know.
job."
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. But no, I got a pretty amazing opportunity to join XALT, which is an Atlassian, a platinum Atlassian solution partner. They're based in Germany, and we are branching out into the US as well. And part of my responsibility in that is that I am helping set that up and helping expand the business out in our neck of the woods.
Yep.
Yep.
Thinking the same word.
Yeah. And so that's been an exciting kind of challenge, and but I work with a very great group of people, and it's like I said, I'm very lucky. So it's exciting. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of using brain muscles that I haven't had to use in a while. But yeah, I'm very thankful for the opportunity.
You got to help me out. How do you pronounce this thing? Because I just keep thinking salt and pepper, but I'm assuming it's not salt.
So it's like salt with a Z.
XALT?
XALT.
Oh.
Shoot, I would have gone XALT.
That's
Yeah,
what I kept doing
XALT.
too, because I
Yeah.
was like, it's exalting it.
Most people say exalt, which I don't correct them. So like I think either one ultimately is fine. I'm fine with either one. Just
But
whatever.
I'm just glad I was closer with salt.
Yeah,
XALT.
you were pretty close.
That's kind of cool. So I like the name and like congrats on the new spot, new position.
Thanks.
RIP to our How to Get a Job series.
No, now
Yeah.
you'll have time to revive that so we can hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a job though. So but
that?
I'm not actively looking for a job. That's like my favorite. I don't know. That's like the biggest like middle finger you can give a company, right? When you're leaving and everybody's like, "Where are you going to next?" I'm like, "YouTube." I'm like, I'm not jumping into another dumpster fire.
Oh my gosh. Alex, they're not
Well,
all
like,
dumpster
it's
fires.
not a thing personal, right? But like I feel like, have you guys ever seen or heard of that punk rock 101 song, or who does punk rock 101? There's a band, Bowling for Soup.
Okay.
So Bowling for Soup's a band, a little punk rock band from like the 90s. They have a song like
This sounds older than you, but go on.
no, it was High School Never Ends, right? And like they have a line in the thing where it's like high school never ends. It's different places, different faces, but it's the same game. So I feel like getting any job anywhere, it's just like high school, right? It never ends. Like you're just gonna go into one problem to somebody else's problem. I'm just gonna go on YouTube. I'm just gonna make videos. Wait for like 1,000 videos that are gonna drop a week. Everybody's gonna be unsubscribing.
Yes. You're gonna spam YouTube now too.
Basically.
If that's even possible.
Just for the record, Bob, the 90s was 20 or so years ago. So
I know.
It was.
it feels like
It was.
not, but it was.
I got a raffle ticket at our St. Louis Ace yesterday, and it had
And
my
my mug too,
graduation
right?
year on it. It like the last 4 digits were my graduation year, and of course the guy I'm sitting next to, I'm like, "Were you born?" He's like, "Nope."
Nope. And I always have that same problem where I'm like, I tell people are always talking about stuff, and I'm like, I was born in '89.
Yep. Hey, you were born when I graduated.
There we go. Perfect. All right. So you've been as much of an adult as I've been alive.
Yeah. Yes, I have. I'm gonna be proud of that.
All right. So we did 12 minutes later, did have a specific topic for today. So Josh, we wanted to talk about workflows versus automation rules. And we have no idea where to start. So
Yeah, no, it's a big topic. Yeah, where would be a good place to start?
So I think we were pre-gaming. Let's talk about usage. I think I wanted to talk about the impacts of automation rules. And maybe we can talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and provide some tips. And so for full disclosure, just like 4 hours ago, I did a little webinar with our channel sponsor, Revise, where we did go a little bit into a deep dive on automation rules. And so I have a thing or two, or have an opinion or two to talk about, but definitely wanted to hear your 2 cents, and Sarah, even yours as well, right? Like, what do you guys think about the usage limitations of automation rules? I think we can start there. Has it impacted you? Do you not care? Do you see it
Go
being
ahead,
an
Sarah.
impact?
See, I was looking at you, Josh. You just couldn't tell. I was like laser focused on you. Okay. So the impact of the limitations you're saying? Or
Yeah,
the
well, I
limits?
mean, so a year ago, there were no limits.
Yeah.
Fast forward a year later, we have limits. How have you seen these limits impact behavior, impact have you seen people upgrade more? Have you seen people complain more? What are your thoughts? What have you seen from the community with respect to
Seen
these automation
people
rules?
get creative more. You know, something I would be really curious about. Yeah, because I don't have a lot of feedback specific to that question. Like, what have I been seeing? Most recently, I've been working with some enterprise projects. So to that point, right, haven't been as impacted, but there are other caveats.
But we can talk about that then. So let's flip the script then, right? So as an enterprise customer, I see the behavior is the opposite, right? I see just sloppiness, right? Where it's unlimited still, so I don't care. We'll make 20 rules that all do the same thing.
Yep.
Let's do 200 that do the same thing.
Yeah, I won't go so far as to say sloppiness, right? But there's a lot of consideration associated with it. And you know, and it's when you open those things up to the anything is possible. And then you know, I am absolutely guilty of it. I get wicked excited about new features and jumping in and doing as much as I can with them, right? And so I want to go in there and start configuring all these really cool automation rules, and what problems can I solve with automation, and what can I do with automation that, you know, maybe makes it so that I don't have to use a plugin, or that I don't have to configure as many workflows. And for me, one of the bigger challenges with that is, at the end of that Revise, if everybody goes and watches that video, one of the things though is the rules collisions. And then when you have so many rules kicking off at the same time because we go global, or how do you limit them better, that it becomes a whole other system to maintain, not just the rule, but the rule that does this, that could impact that, that could impact that, that could impact that. And you get into complexities with that so fast. And so again, I'm not going to say sloppy, but maybe it's just that if you go into it without a real strategy with how you're going to use it, what are your guidelines around using it? And then to the discussion earlier about when is it a workflow versus when is it automation? When do you standardize because you're doing it through a workflow? And when do you open that up to that project level configuration because it's a customization that your project administrators do? Like everything, right? If you just open it up without a plan for how you're going to monitor and governance, that's when we get into those challenges.
Very well put. Josh is like,
No.
what's an automation rule?
No, I've actually been I've been doing quite a lot of that recently, actually. So no, it's it is a I think it's a unique problem to solve. I think especially once the limits were introduced. I think when automation first got rolled into the product, it was kind of the Wild West, and you could just automate literally, whatever you could think of. But the limits kind of brought it back down to earth a little bit. And although I would still say that the limits are still somewhat generous, outside of
Unless
the
you're on the
enterprise
standard
level.
Unless you're on standard.
Unless you're on standard. Standard is tough. Standard's tough. Premium is pretty solid in terms of limits, but yeah, standard is a challenge. But yeah, I think, I don't know, to me, like the better, I think the better kind of conversation around it is trying to figure out when to use which. And I definitely agree with like some of the stuff that Sarah was saying about, if you're at the enterprise level and you have no limit and you're not really taking care of what you put into the system, or you don't have governance in place, or you don't have people on staff in place that are kind of guiding people through this, then it can absolutely get out of hand very quickly. And before you know it, your system is not, even though you're not hosting it, your system's not running very well. But yeah, I think the conversation around when to use which one is a good one, because I of course it comes down to the ultimately the use case, but I think it also there's just a lot of caveats on both of those, is what I'm trying to say.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I always my favorite tagline. I feel like I need this on a T-shirt, right? I think the hardest part about being a Jira admin is never how to do the thing. It's like it's not like how to add the status, right? It's not the steps, but it's like, should you do the thing?
Mm-hmm.
And like, should you do it there? Should you do it this way? Like, how do you do that thing? And the why, right? Like that stuff just gets trickier because there's just so many different ways to skin the cat, and there's just so many different consequences and positives and negatives to different decisions that you do. And it used to be that automation rules were cool, right? Like it was free range, right? Do whatever you wanted, however you wanted. But with those limits, they definitely altered behaviors, both in the people that are unlimited and to the people that have limits. Because in enterprise, I see every Jira project, when you jump into a Jira project, you have templates that Atlassian encourages you to try out, right? Well, I've seen in enterprise Jira is like 50 versions of the same rule because 50 different project admins went in and enabled that same template. So I have 50 automation rules that do the same thing. Sarah, you're trending again.
Oh. Well, I want to go back to thank you for passing it over. I want to go back to Rodney out there, since he's chatting us from his recovery, is definitely right. What are those workarounds to those limits? So when you don't want to go up to premium, if automation is the only thing really that is blocking you, or that you would want for premium, what else can you do? And then obviously probably same rules apply with any apps that you introduce is now how do I decide which app and which route to go and who's allowed to do what?
So I would say two things to that question, right? One is I would like the option to buy more.
Yep.
Atlassian's already doing this with assets, right? They introduced a new change where you have a limit on your assets. And if you want to buy more, you buy buckets of them more. So I don't understand why Atlassian would miss this opportunity. Because what upsets me the most, and I do think this goes against an Atlassian value, is once you hit that limit, you're done. Like those rules stop working. And if you're relying on those rules for real business purposes, you're screwed for an X amount of time every single month. And that just seems so anti-Atlassian values.
I will say the ability to buy more, though, oh my God, the logic and the rules and the billing mechanism and the system that would need to be in place for that, for the people who are like, why are you charging me for this, but not that? I feel like there's potential there, but also so much infrastructure work that probably would have to go along with that.
So I think they overcomplicated it too, though, right? Like I think Atlassian was onto something. I love that as long as you ran your rules, like they encourage good behavior, right? As long as your rules were single project, right? Then they were free. They didn't count for usage at one point, right? And now, like I would say, Atlassian should really look at their billing model and go, okay, how do we? Because they pay for each execution, right? Like at the end, Atlassian's paying for them, right? And so I'd be like, how do we encourage good behavior so that we can reward those that follow best practices, but then also I wouldn't mind a little extra cash, few $100 million a quarter for people being careless. And
I'm going to poke fun though. You just said though that you hate it when there's 50 projects with the same automation rule, and then you're like, let all the projects make their automation rules.
Look, I will tell you that those 50 projects that are, I wouldn't want to go there, but I will go there now. Those 50 rules that I've seen are literally when those subtasks go to done, move the story to done, and it is just blowing my mind. Isn't that free?
Well, there are
Doesn't that happen automatically though?
Yeah, there are some of the automations that are, and I'm curious if more will happen. God, for the life of me, I can't remember how they
system
tag
automations.
Thank you. Yes, right. So those don't get charged. So it will be curious to see if there are more of those, because use automation is such kind of a default response to when you want to do something. And there is like, well, you have automation to do that. And you're like, okay, you're pushing me into this. And I feel, I get why you're pushing me there, but I also don't want to go there because I know the consequences.
There's a t-shirt though. This could have been a post function. Lina, if you're watching, we need this as a sticker.
Yes.
We're making our stickers for Team 25, and I feel like this could have been a post function as a sticker. Although our sticker sheet's slowly running out of room.
I can't wait to see it.
It's on Canva.
Is it? Okay.
I'll send you a screenshot later. Wait, it's in Slack. Go look at your Slack.
Oh, it is in Slack. Okay. I gotta pay more attention.
Tisk. All right, so that's on usage. What else? So this could have been a post function. Let's talk about that. So
wait, what?
What do you like? This could have been a post function. Let's kind of sit on that for a second. Then, so walk me through your guys' thought process here. Like, how do we know that this could be a post function? Like, when do we encourage post functions versus the automation rule? Like, is there a line in the sand that you can clearly say, go this way, go that way? I'll give you a great example. When I'm standing up a new Jira project, I ask the team, are you going to do sprints? Because if the answer is yes, you have to use Scrum. If the answer is no, then we got a lot of potential, right? But if your answer is yes to sprints, there's only one answer. So with respect to that, like, do you guys have okay, you want something automated in Jira? Let me ask you a couple of baselining questions to see, should I send you the workflow route or should I send you the automation route? Should we get those questions asked or created?
I don't think there's a clear cut like baseline question. I think there's a page and a half of baseline questions to get to that answer. Because I mean, it would vary. I mean, and then that's the worst answer is it depends.
I mean, that's the only answer.
Yeah, I mean, it really is because right. Okay, so does the person you're talking to, do they have the ability to even edit the workflow to begin with? Right.
Well, you
Do
can
they
now.
have
You
that
can open it
access?
up now to a
May
certain degree.
in
But
certain scenarios. Yeah.
yeah, well,
Wanted to
that's a
talk about that.
possibility.
Go on.
Right. Right. So it all that stuff starts to play into it. It I mean, one of the big determining factors too is like, do they have any other workflow related plugins already? Do they have some of the automation or JMWE or some of the other real popular ones that extend the abilities of your workflow configurations? Because if they do, then odds are there are post functions that could very well handle whatever the use case is. And if it does, then of course you can avoid things like running into limits and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If it's something, and I commented on a post recently who had asked kind of this question, I forget his name, but it was a similar question around, how do you know when to do which one? And I think a lot of it has to do with that, with what I just mentioned. And if it's something that you are not going to have to mess with a lot, like if it's really never going to change, and if this is just kind of like a standard universal, okay, complete a story every time anytime all the subtasks are complete, more than likely that's not going to change. So you can set it and forget it. Do you need an automation for that? No, a workflow post function would probably work better. Especially if you don't need to mess with it. You don't need people to have the ability to mess with it. But if it's something that is more of an ad hoc thing, or if it's something that needs to be more dynamic, or you want to be able to pass off the management of it to someone else, like a project admin, then an automation might make more sense. Plus it comes down to how many times is this thing going to run, right? Like how often does this thing have to execute? If it's a lot, then yeah, that's probably going to be a post function. But at the same time, post functions are always tied to a status moving through the workflow.
Yeah, so it's limiting,
Right?
right? So it's not the
automation already
silver
has a
bullet
beat
here.
in that sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think you bring up a good point, right? Today I was on a call with someone that like they made an automation rule, and they're like every time that the status changes, if the status equals done, then let's do something. I'm like, guys, that's a lot of kicking off this rule. Like how many times are we updating statuses, right? And so they're like, oh, I guess we didn't consider that. So it's interesting. I think there's a balance, right, of maybe training and education of, and I don't know if there's something Atlassian should be doing. I don't know if something partners should be doing, right? But in general, there's a poor hygiene of rule creation and workflow modifications as well, right? Like how many workflows have you seen with 50 plus statuses?
Sorry, never. I'm sitting here thinking that we're just feeding the Alex YouTube machine right now, right?
I know.
You're
It's like, how do
wait, note that idea down. This is what we're gonna have a whole series on.
Because I'm coming back to this. The reason I'm bringing that up is because of this comment here. Right? It's like just because you can give people permission doesn't mean you should, right? I think it's so important, and I don't know that a lot of companies appreciate this, right? And maybe this is why Atlassian's charging for this stuff, right? To make it hurt a little bit, to incite change, right? But the idea is, maybe Sarah didn't like sloppy, so let's do careless. Let's see, she likes careless more.
Short-sighted.
Short-sighted. I don't know. I just feel like if you don't know what you don't know, right? And if you don't understand the impact, you're just gonna make whatever rule makes sense for the problem you're trying to solve. I don't care how I got there. I have a problem solved. But in the world that we live in, with these automation rules and these workflows, regardless of which way you go, they both have consequences that I don't think an untrained admin can appreciate correctly. Any thoughts on that?
Well, for sure. And yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
All I was going to say is there's the untrained / underexperienced admins, right? And then as soon as I start thinking about underexperienced, I start thinking about how fast things are changing with the products. And then it's hard to feel like you're fully experienced with so many things that keep happening in all the new stuff. But over to you, Josh.
No, yeah, I agree. This is like a topic I could talk about for hours, but there is definitely a lack of, and I don't know what the right word is, but we'll just say a lack of attention that is paid to the configuration and maintenance of a site. And this is pretty systemic, unfortunately. And I know Atlassian does do certain things. They do put admin training out there, and they put a lot of things, a lot of materials out there.
I don't know, man, because that ACP 120, it's like when I took it, I was like, I'm like, everything on this test is something you do once at the beginning of a new Jira and you never touch again.
Yeah.
I'm like, what
Yeah,
value
it
do
could
I have?
be- It could be
80% of what I do is not in a Jira, and 80% of what I do as a Jira admin is not in an Atlassian certification exam.
Yeah, I definitely have thoughts on the tests as well. I think a lot of them are good, but there could be improvements for sure. But I with that being said, I mean, I think you have to really kind of rely on the people that know this stuff, and hopefully I'd like to say for the majority, but hopefully there are people on staff or who have the ability and access that can help people figure this stuff out and practice good hygiene with it,
So
because it is really important. Like, it really is. And it's a shame that it doesn't get more attention paid to it, other than like our community, who are all in it every day, and we know
all
the
day.
right and the wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of the 300,000 customers, I would say, probably don't. And
Especially when on these team managed projects that anything goes anyways.
Yeah.
God, don't even get me started on those.
I'm going to tease you again, though, Alex, right? Because we all come at this from the more administrative side perspectives. And then we have, customers, the people who we are doing these implementations for, who don't have the deep insights to the inner workings of the systems, right, that we have. And so it's like Alex saying, why can't they just charge us per automation, or create some model out there? And because there are deeper pieces to that they need to consider, and that they might be working on. It's the same thing, is like they just want things to work, they want the things to do the things they want them to do. And then how do you balance that with that? Because I know you guys, I know Alex, right? You like to fall on these standardize.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say my unfiltered answer is go to ClickUp. Get out of here. No, but this brings up, I think I want to pivot to culture, team culture, company culture, because one of the reasons why I'm quitting my job is not that I suck at my job. I'm actually quite good at my job. But I get so much hate is the wrong word, but I get a lot of resistance, right? Because I'll get a user who comes and says, I want this. And I'm like, no. And then then they escalate to my manager. And my manager's yelling at me, like, why aren't you doing this? I'm like, because it's not the right way. And he's like, who are you to decide? And I'm like, the expert that I am is the one that's deciding. Right? But I think a lot of companies don't have good culture for good IT hygiene. We just want to unblock and stop being the blocker. But it's challenging to stay motivated to keep a good Jira the way we know it should be, but also not be that blocker that then gets hated on or not like that, right? And again, so any thoughts on that?
I mean, I that's kind of been my mission for the last several years of being in this kind of industry. I mean, I've been doing it for 13, but I've been leading teams in it for the last like half of that. So when I was at a company called Nextiva, I was able to hire a team of full-time in-name Atlassian solution specialists. That's what we called, the team. And
wait,
we
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. I know that the acronym. Yeah.
Sorry.
But either way, no, because I did not want the team known as Jira admins. I didn't want us known simply as admins, because to me, the responsibility is much greater than just knowing how to add a field. Like, it's not that, as far as I'm concerned, that was not our job. Our job was to help these teams get into the best position to succeed and optimize their workflow, for a lack of a better term.
Mhm.
And that is done, as far as I'm concerned, that is done by not just saying no, but it's done by saying no in creative ways, and saying what is the problem you're trying to solve, and getting that information from them and saying, okay, great, we can do this by doing X, Y, and Z, and then taking the responsibility of, like, okay, getting that information from them. And then my team is the team that then decides, takes all of the downstream, upstream, all of the analysis that's required to implement a good solution. We take that into an account before we then say, okay, this is the solution we're proposing to solve this problem that you have. Because if we were to just say no, that
By
would
the way,
cause
when I
tension.
said no, I was just paraphrasing, but yeah.
No, I know, but some people will
Interpret.
just say no, and
Yeah.
and I think that's wrong too. Like, you don't necessarily want to give everybody what they ask for, because they don't know what they're asking for a lot of the time. They just know that they're trying to solve this particular slice of this particular pie in this particular project. So it's the job of a good admin. It's a job of good people that have access to do this work, to spend the time to analyze the problem and not the solution. Like, what is the actual problem that needs to be solved, and then take that information and figure out what to do.
Multiple times yesterday, today, and granted in the past,
20
somebody
minutes.
puts in a ticket and is saying, I need this to do this. Right. And then the natural reaction is, okay, somebody just will just do that. And it goes back to that system thinking, that being an architect, and that, like, no, you need the ability to state what your problem is. And I've been like obsessed with the idea of the ability to state a problem, and I'm like, God, if I'm going to teach my kids anything, I got to figure this out. Like, I need them to be able to state a problem, because when you can name it and describe it and what the impacts of it are, then you can get to something much better, than just saying, I want to. It's almost like when you listen to your body, or if you listen to your body and your body says, one of the things I love is that I keep trying to remember is, sometimes when your body says, I'm hungry, right, and your stomach's rumbling, it's actually, I'm thirsty. But all of those things that we know about it are saying I'm hungry. So we go eat, and then, and then I got to go buy new jeans. So now I'm like, no, I think I just need this water. I'm going to drink some water, and hopefully that will tell my body, you're not actually hungry, you needed this. And so again, and I just bring that up, trying to tie this back together so I don't sound like a complete lunatic.
I was going to say, maybe we're just
It goes
pivoting
back
to a
to
new
that
show
idea of
on health advice by Sarah Wright.
right. No. I need some fine print on that.
Sarah's going to have like the fittest group of Jira admins in the Atlassian ecosystem. We're going to be in a Sarah boot camp here.
Are people still swole?
I believe in Sarah.
But one thing I was thinking about too, which is, somewhat the irony again here, is with Jira generally, and most often being associated with developers and product development teams, and that thinking sometimes feels like it goes out the window when it comes to the things that they're using, right? So all of the reasons you have to say no, because this and this, it's like, those are things that I think you forget about when it's the thing that you want, right? It's easy to jump into that. No, this is really critical and this is really important, even though technically they recognize all those reasons that for the same reasons they would give back to their constituents. That said, though, now with Jira for All and all the other teams that don't always think that way, that's, I think, when it gets especially challenging, right? And that's where your team projects come in, so that, hey, just let them kind of do whatever they want to do, and then they'll learn a little bit more. Not that that's the intent, but the potential is for them to learn more about managing a product and managing sort of the systems that go along with that.
But this is not where we get into a maintenance nightmare, right? Because eventually that
I
freedom,
know. I
will
don't
hit a
disagree
brick
with you.
wall with that freedom.
But I think everything kind of has to, it's painful, but sometimes things have to evolve organically like that. Like, no matter how much you tell them, this is the path you're going to end up with, still letting it go that way a little bit is useful, which right now has nothing to do with automations.
No, but I mean, automations play a key role into this, right? Like today I got a request saying I want and maybe there's like a class on just emotional intelligence that we can learn from or something, right? Because I feel like there's a right way and a wrong way to ask for something, right? And I get a ticket, and it's like, make an automation rule that prevents an epic to going into done if the children haven't been moved to done. And I'm like, how in the world? I don't even know that that's possible. Yet the requirement isn't like, is it possible? The requirement is go do it. And I'm like, I don't even think it's feasible.
That's my point, right? Is when people come in with the requests that are solutions without coming in with, I have a problem. This is the problem that this is causing me. How can we adjust for that? Because a lot of times, well, it's a challenge because
Ronnie says he could do it.
one thing like that can domino effect. And then you start going, oh, wait a minute. Now I see this bigger picture. And now I see these more things that might need to change as a result of solving that problem. And then it starts to feel too big to do. So then you boomerang back to, oh, but I can't.
So here's an automation rule.
Maybe I'll just do this one little thing to get it out of the way.
Here's an automation rule to create if you are managing an IT help desk for Jira related support. If the title or description do not contain the word please, just close and resolve.
I like the chat right now because it's talking a lot about like bribes and food and whatnot. And I will freely admit that there were many times that me and my team played favorites with people, depending on who they were, depending on like how they treated us, how they talked to us, like all those types of things that all played into the level. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody got a great level of service, but there were other people that got better service.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I'm right there with you, man. I have my favorites, and I have people that I'm willing to go above and beyond for.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, so moral of the story, if you're watching this and you're not a Jira admin, treat your Jira admins nicely.
That's right.
They have the possibility to unblock you from a lot of blockers.
And I tried to be one of those, the best customers are the educated customers. I, probably tried to suggest too many solutions in my own requests, but did it from a place of knowledge and not necessarily from a place of ignorance, right? That I was like, okay, I know this is possible and this is possible and this is possible. And here's my problem. I think something like this might help me fix it, because I had a really close relationship because I wanted to join that team. So I was doing everything I could to work really well with them, because maybe it made it easier for them to implement my change, because I was able to provide my use cases and my, my background reasonings for it. And because I understood and was able to articulate, I know the implications of this, help me solve this, but this is just one option that I have.
But the problem is, so because I'm turning this podcast into my own personal therapy session.
You always do.
I know, right? I shy away from, if you guys ever want anything from me, subject line text. I can't. If you throw a paragraph at me, Sarah, it ain't gonna be read. And I just feel like as you're describing your problem, like your problem would be the last problem I would work on months from now, because I need to be in a state of mind to read that novel.
Well, I mean, I wasn't writing novels, but I was trying to provide enough information for
You're going to
them
be
to
trending
act
again. I
on.
believe Sarah.
And I was trying to diminish the amount of work they actually had to do. Now, you, Alex, you might read something and you'd be like, oh, this is the way we do it, blah, 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 blah. But not every admin is going to be at that level. And so if this is first coming in and it's a triage ticket, then I'm trying to help them get through it.
My favorite is I just like, I like listening. I like hearing people describe the problem to me in Jira because I already know the solution to their problem. But I get so much like happiness out of like somebody describing a problem and like I already know what the problem is, and then they're like, and I'm fixing it as they're describing the problem, and all I go is just refresh your screen, and they're like, how did you know? I was like, I do this too much.
See, but Alex, sometimes one of the things you were saying though is, people need to be able to ask better questions or submit it better. And then the flip side's always true. I always go like motherly on him because of this age gap. I'm like, but Alex, yes, they are going to be like that, but you have to monitor your reactions too and control what you can control. And you can
I
control
told you
your
I fired
reactions.
somebody today without having any authority to fire somebody. I'm a loose cannon right now.
That feels like one of those philosophical questions. Can you really fire somebody if you don't have the authority to fire them? Are they actually fired?
I mean, it happens in our government, right? So why not?
Everything is possible.
Oh man. So while we have veered way off, I mean, we probably.
Well, I'm gonna just steal it back though. I will say there are so many things happening with the automations, though I don't post as often as I should, but the updates and the ability with the automations are ones that get me so excited. And the ability now to finally track, open up the audit logs and do it by issue type, especially because I am in a situation where 18 different automations could run on an issue when it gets created, and the automation recent rules, and you're like, totes can't read that because it doesn't tell me. So things like that, with the ability with having the smart values just be selectable now, but it's taken away my superpower because that used to be my superpower, but now everybody has the superpower with smart values. Seeing a lot more, and I think I was on a webinar or something one time when I was like, hey, what about rule collisions? Are you ever gonna like put that out there? And that might be a roadmap item. So even though we know there are all kinds of potential challenges with automations, I do love how much work that's going into it as a product of its own. And to that point, maybe it does become that sellable thing.
Yeah, I would say that in terms of like over the last 5 years, like the innovation the improvements in automation have completely outpaced anything related to workflows. Workflows have barely changed.
Have they even changed? My statement
they've changed visually more than functionality.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised to find out that team managed workflows have some capabilities in there.
Don't. Why do you have to say such words?
Because I was so surprised. I was like, when I looked at that, I was like, what in the world? I didn't think these people got privileges.
Team managed. There's my Jira admin tip for the day. Turn off team managed projects. If you have a new site you're starting up, turn it off.
Turn it off. That's what
Josh,
never turn it on.
That's the tip of the day every day.
Every day. That will never change.
Until we walk into Team 25 and everything in the keynote is like, team managed, we have new team managed templates for y'all. Like,
maybe they should change the name of it from team to company managed. And that's the name of the new conference. It's company managed conference.
Oh man, I had an interview my replacement and I was like, hey man, what's the difference between team managed versus company managed? He's like, well, company's for the company and the team's for the team. I was like, no, not quite.
No, that is a hill that I will die on.
We have a t-shirt. Have you looked at it?
No.
It says, "Friends don't let friends create team managed projects."
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, friends don't let friends make team managed projects because you should avoid them like the plague.
I don't even tell people about them.
But Atlassian tricks you into them though. Like Atlassian just sneak. Like when you first set up your new Jira for the first time, you're in a team managed project. You got to delete that thing like quickly before anybody finds out.
Yeah, there are definitely things I don't agree with how how certain.
I mean, I
things
get
like
it.
that
I
happen,
get
but
Atlassian wants you in this tool quickly and easily with
Yeah.
minimal thinking about it, but it doesn't scale. And like people,
I get the intent. I understand the intent, and I understand what they're going for. And if you're a very small, like if you're just starting out
Mhm.
and you're like 1 or 2 teams and you're less than 20 people and you're just trying to get a feel for it and get into the system, I could live with that. But the minute you start scaling and you start hitting, 50 to 100 and above users and multiple teams and all this kind of stuff, then it's like, then you have to have a conversation about the right
You-
way to do it, because
do you
team
think
managed
that-
projects are not the right way to do it.
do you think Atlassian will ever rename project?
I wish they never would have called it project from the beginning, but
But call on
everything.
me
Go ahead.
when you're done. Call on me.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry.
This is wrong.
Because I think the key word here that you said that I forget, it's scale.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things with the requests and with the, the no becauses, is that it's all related to scale. And then where scale is important to some folks, right, and scale is not so important to other folks. Scale is important to the people who fund the things.
Yeah.
Scale is not as important to the people who aren't able to fund things.
Ain't that the truth? That needs to be on a poem somewhere. That should be like, you remember those Believe posters that companies used to have back in the 80s and 90s? Like that needs to be on a poster somewhere.
I think we're also getting a lot of lyrics to songs, by the way. I feel
I
like
thought we were gonna make our own song so that Mark Crutha and team could
Yeah.
like ensemble a
I
band. We
I
got
mean-
like 40 days.
I'm sure somebody's done like the Jira Blues, right? That I'm, like da 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 da. They wanted a team managed project. Da 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 da. I do way too many things on the show that I'm going to be embarrassed by later. Da 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 da.
There should be some kind of Spotify list of Jira related songs. I know there's more than one. There's more than one
Somebody,
Jira song out there.
yeah, there should be, because like I saw a playlist on Spotify that was like a McDonald's order. And like the title of each song was like, "Can I get a Big Mac and a side of large fries?" Like they were just taking the words out of the like songs who like fulfilled the order. So it'd be so interesting if you made like
Oh yeah.
a fix, like I would call the song name Fix, and then like another one's like version in my something.
Or I've got a game, Ransom Notes, that just has little, word magnets, and then you get a topic, and then you have to put the words in order. So we'll make like the Jira Ransom Notes. Give somebody a topic, and then
There's
they have
an
to use
app.
random Jira
There's
words
an app for a
just to do it.
marketplace vendor, a ransom note app maker that you can just embed in your issue tickets.
There you go.
Exactly. I think I just gave somebody a swag idea. Let's hope.
Ooh. Lina, scratch all the tickets,
Yes.
stickers that we got going on. We're making ransom note stickers.
It's now Jira Ransom Notes.
Well, I don't know if you saw one of the stickers, but one of the stickers we're gonna have is Jira needs to come with a survival guide.
Or even the, what to expect when you're creating a Jira project, like the what to expect, right? Series.
There's the whole book.
Yeah.
What to expect when you're expecting a new Jira project. But seriously though, they need to get rid of this word project, because the number of times I have to educate somebody that a project's not a project, because they think that a project is a project, but it's not that project because it's a different kind of project. But we're all talking about a whole
But
same
it still
project,
could be that.
Yeah.
But it still could be that project.
but it's not that project most likely.
Yeah.
But
Not
then
more,
at the end of
most
the day,
likely
it turns
not,
out that
but
it
could
was
be.
that project the whole time. That
Well-
needs to go away.
And then a project equals a team.
But then can we talk about how many people think a board is a project?
Don't
Oh.
no, that's almost as bad as talking about team managed projects.
Right? And
The
so
amount of
but
times that I have to correct people or educate people that a board and a project are not interchangeable, but yet they use them interchangeably.
There's a lot that has to get explained, and
Yes.
and like a good joke, you don't want to have to be, you don't want to have to explain it. And yeah, it's there's some work. I mean, I don't know what should it have been called.
Exactly.
Part of me
Workspace.
is like
Workspace would have
space,
been-
like
yeah,
everything
work-
should have been space, like
everything should have
Confluence
been a
space,
space,
Jira
yeah.
space,
I
like
could see it
it
going
would
that
have been
way.
fine. But
that we eventually end up with a space that has all of the Confluence and all of the
well,
Jira.
now you
meshed.
can view the content side by side.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
So
might
it's
as well
like-
need a space to just it's the
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
This is
And
my
I think they're
work
gonna have to
item
do
in
it
my
since
space.
they're getting rid of issues, right? So I'm already
Work
getting the pop up
items.
that work items are coming.
Yep.
That's my point. Is
I'm just
yes,
glad it wasn't task. I'm just glad it wasn't task.
You didn't want a task type?
No. No. That would have been
task
so bad.
type.
Oh man.
That should have been a sticker too. Task type.
I have tasks in my project.
What about your story task type?
Well, when everybody hears task, when most people say task, they mean subtask in regards
Absolutely.
to what
So,
Jira
yeah.
is.
That's
So-
another thing that if
I'm
Atlassian's
sorry.
gonna make some updates, is like, can we just get rid of task?
Yeah,
Because
we had to do that too.
it
There
should
have
not.
been
Yeah.
recent
Oh,
implementations where it was like, let's just not use task.
Yeah, let's just get rid of it because a story and a task should not be at the same level. Because nobody treats a story and a task at the same level in their minds.
I
Jira
do.
does.
I do.
Well, then you're
Now
not
I
very
feel
good
really.
at it,
I
right?
feel dumb that I do.
Yep. No, you're
I see a
missing.
distinction between a story and a task, and especially
do.
if they
Doesn't.
are
I do
work
too.
items.
I
But
do
Jira
too,
doesn't.
but
They are different, right? Because one
How?
of the ways
conceptually they're different.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
but not
we
in
just-
Jira. In Jira, they're
just-
the
Not in
exact same
Jira.
thing.
Yeah.
especially if epic and story, right? And then a task is just something else over here that probably doesn't relate.
It's
to
a
an epic, that's more
philosophical difference
operational.
between
Yeah,
a
but it's a-
story
yeah.
and a task.
It's on paper. On paper, it's different, but in Jira, it's the exact same thing.
No,
Yeah,
it's
no, they
not.
are. In terms of hierarchy, yes. But
Yes.
like how they're used.
Yes.
No, how they can be used is different.
Yeah.
How they should be used.
Right. Right.
Sean blames Agile. I blame Atlassian because task shouldn't have existed, or the subtask should have been the task. Like maybe subtask shouldn't have existed, and the task should have been the subtask. Because that's
But
how
is
Agile
everything you
defines
do
it.
is everything that you are doing related to a story? I think that's
No.
the challenge.
It's not.
No.
So then what do you tell a team? What's
So
the
that's
difference
a
between a
task.
story and a task?
That's a task. If it's not related to the story, it's a task.
Okay, so now what do you do with teams, because Jira for all, that don't even know what a story is?
They don't have to have a story issue type.
So now we're getting rid of the story.
I would get rid of a story for a business team faster than I would get rid of a task for a software team.
Agree.
So that's the
I-
point. And then you
I
just
mean, I-
give them every right.
It's unnecessary confusion that again, like I'm gonna go back to Josh's thing. If you gotta explain it, it wasn't very funny, guys.
Okay, what software have you used that hasn't
ADO.
had to be explained
ADO.
that had this level of
ADO,
what?
Azure DevOps Online has the right hierarchy out of the box. Has the
Well,
epic,
okay,
the
it has the
feature,
right
story, and the
hierarchy.
task.
But does it have other things that need to be explained?
Doesn't matter. With context to hierarchy,
And
ADO
it's
is the only
very-
one that does it right.
Okay, so and I'm not as familiar with ADO, but does it do as much? Does it
Probably
have
not, because it's a dead product from Microsoft, and I think missed opportunities. But join me as I now quit my job and I'm working to build Jira 2.0, the unJira.
with Scott, right?
Yeah, with Scott. I'm gonna call Scotty here, and I'm gonna go, hey, how about an on-premise version of Jira, but not Jira?
Yes.
If anybody, I'm looking for investors. If anybody wants to get involved, let me
Yeah,
We
know.
I'm
will
sure
call
there's
it
I'm sure
Arage.
there's a big list of people lining up for on-premise products right now.
There are. You know how many people hate that 15% increase that they're gonna come every year? By the way, Josh, just for your honor, February 27th, folks, expect October a 10 to 15% increase this year. Spoilers at last, if
How
you're
is it that
listening.
time of year already?
Every
No,
year, Atlassian somehow tries to keep it as their best kept secret that there's going to be a price increase in October. And they don't want anybody to know. Spoilers, February of 2026, there will be a data center price increase. If you're like Apple, where your product updates happen on a cadence and a pattern, you can predict that the next February and the next October, there will be price increases. Scary how you can predict the future when you find a pattern. But we're the ones that get in trouble for picking up on the pattern.
right.
Josh is like, I'm not getting in trouble twice. Keeping my mouth shut.
That's why
It's
you
the
never
way of the
signed
world.
an
It's the way of the
NDA.
world. Everything gets more expensive every year.
Which is
Well,
why, again, an on-premise version. Imagine this: a $10 perpetual license for Jira for the non-Jira.
It's Airage, by the way. I named it Airage for you.
Airage, is that what we're calling it?
Uh-huh. So
Okay.
it's just Jira backwards. It's Airage.
I was gonna go with the Elon Musk approach to not Jira. Because he has like not a flamethrower. You guys heard his story, right? He the flamethrowers from SpaceX.
I think
No?
I've heard this, but go on.
Yeah.
So he had the SpaceX flamethrowers that you could buy or win, but you couldn't ship them because like customs and
They're
UPS and stuff wouldn't ship a flamethrower. So he's like, okay, not a flamethrower. They shipped them.
Exactly.
So we'll call it not Jira or what was it? I love that name.
So by the way,
Wait,
Airage?
the name.
I found
Airage.
my mug. I'm showing you my mug in person.
Airage. If anybody's interested in helping me build Airage, let me know.
I'm kind of digging it. It sounds right, doesn't it? Airage.
I'm gonna hurry up and take the URL.
I know, right? Airage.com. Buy it.
I feel like it's got to be taken already, and it probably has some forum on I Hate Jira. Like, that's got to be a thing. Is it available? I am anxious to know. It is a whole
Airage.ai is.
Ooh.
But that's it?
Yeah.
We'll make an AI-based driven Jira that just makes
CO.
it for you.
Airage.co.
I like it.
There we go. You heard it here, folks. We're starting a GoFundMe, an investment fund. You know what would be funny is we do start up Airage, but then we go for Atlassian for startups.
Yeah.
Like, weird. This looks weirdly similar.
Project Charter.
You'll never notice.
A $10 server-based.
Exactly. But we could do a whole show on things you no longer own.
All right. Well, my party pooping producers over here left. And my
they're
party
putting, like,
pooping
time
co-host.
things on
Yeah.
there, Rodney.
So it is time, folks. This is what happens when the producer leaves you unhinged. We get in trouble. Josh, hopefully I don't get you in trouble.
Oh, I'm fine.
Who do we need to thank?
Hmm?
Who do we need to thank for this amazing episode?
Making all this possible, let's go back to my screen here. Don't forget that Revise, the fine makers of securing your Jira data in the cloud by backing it up, are having a little giveaway for Team 25 tickets. So special thank you to Revise for making this episode possible. Don't forget to back it up, and you won't regret it later.
Just backing it up.
I feel like Revise needs a backup song. All right, I don't like to do our outro, so if one of you two wants to do it, go ahead. I'll type it out for you in case you need it. What is it? We didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.
There, you did it.
You
All
did
right,
it.
bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira Guy, Nissen. You can find Alex on YouTube at 8Tech Tutorials, and Rodney's blog is found over at thejiraguy.com. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lina Ortiz. You can catch us live as we record this podcast every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at The Jira Life. Be sure to join us and our other Jira amigos of the Peanut Gallery every week to ask your questions, let us know your comments, and just tell us what you're up to. But if you can't join us live, you can still catch the replay over on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell while you're watching. We're also available as a podcast over on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you listen to it and think it deserves a rating, we would very much appreciate it, as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.